Good morning out there. In there out there. From in here out here. Vivi's nose. Vivi. Julie behind the camera. There wouldn't be any of this without Julie. I have to be a little bit careful today because a friend of mine, Max, he said he doesn't like this show. So I've got to figure out, I don't know what to do. I don't think it's worthy of a review, so... Holy cow. Yeah. Hi, Mark. Mariana.
Ignore Max. I say ignore Max.
So if you are Max, I would suggest you don't watch. I don't know what else to do. Like this, huh? She has her head on Lammy. Yeah, that's so dear. She's so dear. Do you notice all the books behind me? Mm-hmm. Yes, they're trying to cut my reading habit. Keeping all the books from me. Yeah. I can't do anything about Julie, though, because she's on an ebook thing for her eyes. Right, Viv? Well, we're just getting packed. Pretty soon we're going to be coming to you from 7 Acres. That's my name for the place. Yeah, pretty soon. Those books are packed. Pretty much. I think I have one more box to pack. And that's not true, because you guys really need to get out here and take home a dozen books. I'm making an order. You have to leave with a dozen. You can throw them in the trash. But have to help us out. I've learned an interesting thing. I always thought poetry was the least attended to of any literary art. But it's actually short stories. Our short story list has maybe dwindled by 3. Julie's knitting something wonderful. Yeah. Well, I keep thinking, somebody said to me the other day, it's kind of hard to be cheerful. And then I've been reading Garrison Keillor's book, Cheerfulness, which I really do recommend. That sounds like that's unusual. That's not what I mean. I really recommend. He's just got this stance that they're doing these things to us and we have no right to have to be so taken down by it all. We're sitting here with Vivi. This would be a remarkably beautiful time. Just sitting here in November, which is, such a strange, it's a brown month. And I have Vivi and I have these things, and I don't want to deprive anybody of cheerfulness, I guess. Maybe that's... it's infuriating and heartbreaking. Those aren't even good words for how terrible it is, but I think it's not like a third world country, but it's like a country that just really doesn't, I don't know, care about its citizenry anymore, care about its people. And a lot of the people don't care about the people, but that's enough of that. I mean, now we're going gloom world here. I think, it's similar. The church, we have this wonderful church because it's not Christianity-centered. It's Jesus-centered. So there's no talk about Christianity. I talk about Christians being people who, try to learn from Jesus, and they sometimes use the word follow. I use the word traipse along behind. Yeah. But welcome to Sentimentalist. I have a funny sentimental story. So my workshop group called the Landscapers of Poetry, and they're a gift to me every time we meet every month. And I can say to each other as well, we're reading a book that I chose. I thought I chose a really good one, and I'm not so sure. This guy, I think he wrote this book to get attention. So he has this whole chapter on the poet who passed away last week, Louise Gluck, Nobel Prize winner. And he says the thing that was the great thing about Louise Gluck is she was completely despair. Never anything other than despair. Now, one of the academic definitions of sentimental is an inappropriate response to things, like an over-the-top or a sappy, cheesy, but even that. Okay, so then it says, she didn't have 1 ounce of sentimentality. Now, isn't that sentimental? And then you see the irony in that? Maybe she's the most sentimental of them all. And I don't mean that in any mean-spirited way, although I don't like to read somebody who's always despair about everything and negative, completely negative. No positives. That's what he said. I don't know, there's something funny about that and not funny. You know what I mean? Really appreciated the Maine congressman apologizing for his stance toward guns and violence, and he actually said he was wrong. It was wrong of him to be that way. Yeah. And the guy who sold the gun to the fellow who shot all the people in the bowling alley, I mean, if it happens in a bowling alley, what's left? That's a brutal sense of humor, but what's left? Pool hall? I don't know. Anyway, the guy who sold it said he knew the fellow was mentally ill. Okay. Boy, Matthew Perry, but what am I so gloomy about? Well, it's gloomy, but, he really took me back to that was the days when it was so neat, because you knew everybody was watching Friends who liked Friends. I don't mean everybody. I mean everybody who liked Friends was watching Friends. And then the next day you said, how about that? Or did you like this? Or what was funny? And where'd you laugh? And where'd you not? And all that kind of stuff, Yeah, it just did that. Yeah. I think everything changed with Reagan, we know people who think Reagan's the greatest. I need a sip of coffee after saying Reagan. Okay, say it now. But he started all this, and I'm just coming right out. I'm not Fox News. I'm Fix News. Okay, it would be fixed. Yeah. Oh, look at all our books. Oh no, they're back. Yeah, they're not here. Yeah. I don't know what. I said I'm tired of bad news. Here's an interesting thing that we've learned. There's a wonderful clip is it on YouTube, of Meryl Streep talking about women learn to speak men, but men don't learn to speak women.
It's on Instagram.
Instagram it was on. Well, I don't know how to do Instagram, but it was really great. And as she was explaining it, one of the men on the panel said, what Meryl's trying to say is, and Meryl Streep slid right off her chair. And it was wonderful. Yeah, Meryl. But what you learn from this, and then there was another one, a black commentator and a white guest, and that the white guest was very much straightforward about that the black commentator knew. I have to comment on Julie's coffee in a minute, but the black commentator knew much more what it was like to be white than the white, and the person knew what it was like to be black. And then I said, in egotistical way, for some reason it's come to mind that I made a big decision that I'm glad, and yet it's hurt for a long time too, and that was to write poetry. And what I said to Julie was, what that makes me realize is I know more about the people who reject, really, have just they're get it away from me, poetry, than they know about what it's like to be a poet. And I realized that because I've experienced it so often, and I can just almost, tell by looking in the eyes or something. What do you think, Viv? Isn't she? Look at her. She just comforts me. You all need one of these if you're having any kind of tough time. Yeah. The lovely Charlie Bryce asked me to put on the blog and Julie's blog and get out anywhere I could the poem I wrote about the Oxford shootings. And thank you, Charlie, for caring so much that you'd say that. So it's out there. We're trying to get it out and about. But until Charlie said that to me, that was another side. Charlie's writes poetry. Charlie's a brilliant poet, and a truthful, just poet. Be it humor, be it profoundly serious, or a mix. And that meant a lot to me because, I've reached the age where, like James Wright, I've wasted my life. Do I look back and go, I should have been a doctor, nurse, or something? I don't know. Quit it. Well, what else? Oh, well, did books? No, I said that about books, didn't it? Yeah. And that, and this, and that, and this, and that, and I'm tired of the bad news, and Bobby Knight passed away. And that sounds like more bad news, but there would be some bad jokes about it's about time or some terrible thing. I mean, you talk about somebody who could be the most giving person on the planet, and then at the same time campaign for and over here be screaming and yelling and F-wording and foul, obscene, and then over here take a little kid and do something kind and give money. Anyway, remember when he threw the chair? Picked up this chair and hurled it across the court right into where some people were sitting on the floor of the gymnasium. Well, right after that, my dad, this is when he was coaching Pitt, the University of Pittsburgh, and they were having quite a good year, and he was in the press a lot. So the press, from around and around and around, called him, and the first call that came in, they asked, gotta have a sip. They asked, did you ever throw anything? And Dad said, no. He was such a modest, he would just, he'd never raise his voice. Unfortunately, I didn't get that gene. But he never raised his voice. And he said, no. And then he said, oh, I apologize. I just remembered. I threw an aspirin tablet one time. Oh my gosh. How can that be? Isn't that wonderful? Oh my goodness. He was the guy who retired from coaching because of the Sonny Vaccaro Nike shoe business. They wanted to start with him because Vaccaro is from Pittsburgh. I've told you that. He had ethics and that nobody knew about. Just he didn't say anything. He didn't say why he retired. He just retired. But I knew. Well, time for a poem, huh? Let's have a nice poem. Hey, it snowed 2 days ago on Halloween. It snowed, and deep snow. If you're not from around here, I need to tell you that it's deep. It was deep snow. Cow. And do you know what they were doing here? The landscape crew was mowing. They were mowing. It was snowing while they're mowing. That's enough. Okay, now I have a bunch of former students who have little children, like Allison, and just new babies, Kristen, and I'm not, look at me, I'm sexist, I'm just saying that, but their students were Allison and Kristen and Taylor and Jonah, and I'm leaving somebody out. Brianne. Brianne, yeah. And who am I leaving out? Kathy? Well, Kathy's are in college, but that's okay. But is it another Kathy? No, Julie's giggling. Julie's drinking out of Beth McBride sent us a mug. That's the greatest mug you've ever seen. You know, I gave this TED thing called The Perfectly Imperfect. And here's the mug Beth sent. It's all wiggled and warbled and twisted. And it says, what's it say, perfectly imperfect? That was Meredith's phrase, which now is even in an ad. I don't want to deal with it. They stole it from my TED Talk. And also what? Oh, I already said that, but no, maybe I didn't. Tom, you rascal Bowman out there, he made this wonderful cup that's all twisted. It's like the Twisted Tower of Pisa. And I keep my pencils in, and then he scribbled on it wonderfully, so it was perfectly imperfect scribble, where this is a perfectly perfect thing. But the mug is fabulous. I had soup out of it last night made by Julie. It was amazing. It had every ingredient in the house. Every one was in that soup. And that's partly because we're moving. So everything was in it. There was peanut butter in it. And an egg. No? No, there was no. Julie says there wasn't any peanut butter. I swear I tasted peanut butter. Okay, if you say so. So to all you people I love so madly, I can't help it. I'm so lucky. Brianne came here the other day. Oh gosh. It's called To This New Child Breathing in the World, and it was originally for Anne Harrington Hughes and her mom, Jane Harrington Bach. Anne had a baby, and Anne, when she was little, I used to stand under a tree in our backyard, and she and I would talk. She would be a little girl, and she and I would talk. So it was originally them, and now it's for all these. One of these. Kevin, Amy, okay. To this new child breathing in the world. The world's slow promise waits for your walk, the next chance to wander along each day's concert of impossible notes. Your mother, audacious with love, is in your blood. She will sleep in your bones. She will look up into the sky's long reach and ask that you stay longer than the day her father had, safer than her mother lives. And you will carry their fierce and loyal quiet. Yes, you will bring 'em back, and with them walk within the light between the trees. You will step to the edge of the garden and see what Cézanne saw. No line, the blending of form with form and color. Feel the wild, uncertain weight of their heart's unruly kindness. Take care, be kind, try to be cheerful. We all understand. Don't we, Vivi? Yeah. Be Vivi. Thank you, Julie.